All right, so we have the market close, and sorry it was last minute. I just did a stream earlier, so I had to kind of pick myself up a little bit. But this is not the market close. This is the aftermarket close. And yes, sir, the show must go on. As always, how is everyone doing? Yeah, I know I'm super late. I humbly apologize, but at least it's before Nvidia did report that day. So I am still early in terms of Nvidia time. Shout out to Jensen Wong in the Santa Claus costume. He has been making it rain for the last 3 years. So, hey, why not? And let's take a look at some earnings over here. Wow, I have a massive list of earnings over here that I just need to delete. All right, let's take a look at the markets over here, see what's going on after hours. We have more than a few earnings today. We have, oops, let me get my screen over there too. All right, let's get the big list over here. We have Broadcom, we have Rigetti, we have VEEV, we have Okta. I think I saw SES report today too. Actually, I don't even know what they do, but let's see what Broadcom is doing after hours. Broadcom is, oh, that's the monthly chart in Broadcom. I was gonna be like, man, that thing is crashing after hours. Let's take a look over here. After hours are basically flat. I mean, it hasn't really done anything. They did report around here and it like moved for a minute, but like 2% move. That's like nothing. Rigetti's down 3%. The world is healing everyone. Quantum computing is down. The world is definitely healing. Veeva Systems, healthcare AI. In terms of software, I slipped the AI in there. I don't know if they are actually AI or not, but they are healthcare software installed in hospital systems and everything. They are up 9.5%. That's actually not that bad because this company was trading pretty down there for a while. Yeah, it was like almost $300 just a few months ago, and it got all the way down to $170. So good for them. It's up about 10%. All right, Rigetti's bouncing back a little bit over here. I guess the world is not healing, whatever that may be. Okta is up 4% after hours, trading right back to where it was trading earlier today. Yeah, it didn't really move that much. So that is a story with that. I'm actually kind of surprised some of these after hour moves are like very muted over here. But Nvidia is only down 10 basis points, is basically not moving. Let's take a look at the Qs. Qs are basically flat after hours. So is IWM. Yeah, I mean, I guess this was not a market mover. I thought it was going to be a big event for Broadcom. Let's go ahead and pull up the Broadcom investor relations page over here. They have their earnings announcement. I'm not going to be streaming the call. That probably would not be fun for a lot of you people that are out there. If you ever listen to Hawk Tan talk for like an hour, it's not the most enjoyable thing in the world. You'll probably fall asleep. So let's see over here for the Broadcom earnings. They came in. No, I don't want to sell my information. They came in at $19.3 billion for their first quarter, up 29% year over year. GAAP net income was $7.3 billion. So they have a pretty decent net margin. Non-GAAP was $10 million. Sorry, $10 billion for the first quarter. Adjusted EBITDA was $13.1 billion, 68% of revenue. So these are some pretty good numbers, but adjusted EBITDA is the same as non-GAAP. Okay, so if you really want to get the accounting principles in here, you have to look at the GAAP, which is net income of $7.3 billion. GAAP diluted EPS is $1.50, so not bad for Broadcom. Quarterly common stock dividend 65 cents. Second quarter, $22 billion. So that's actually a reacceleration into next quarter at 47% growth year over year and $10 billion purchase program. Do they have any decent announcements here? I don't think they break it out into business segments over here. Operating margins is roughly around 41%, which is pretty good. Do they say if that's GAAP? Yeah, this is non-GAAP. So 41% operating margins is non-GAAP. If you add the 250 million back on there, GAAP is probably like, oh no, they already take it out after the operating. Oh no, that's free cash flow, 41%. So this is probably closer to maybe like 30, 40%. So not bad, not bad. Do they have event presentations? They usually don't release them until after. No, they don't have They don't have their earnings presentations on here. The Broadcom website is like so weird to look at sometimes. Like you could just sense how cheap Hawk Tan is. Hawk Tan is like one of the cheapest people out there, which is the reason why their gross margin, which is the reason why their margins are up pretty high. But like I hear like Broadcom is like super cheap. Like it's funny because I have everyone always has like an uncle who's like super cheap, and like Broadcom, Hawk10 like really fits that definition. Second quarter revenue, like I mentioned, $22 billion. So that's 44% year over year. Second quarter just the EBITDA guidance is 68% of projected revenue. So I believe that is an expansion. No, it's basically flat when it comes to adjusted EBITDA. Again, adjusted EBITDA is non-GAAP. So you're not really gonna get that figure that you want. And Broadcom is like just flat after. I was like, it's not even moving. I guess that was like a non-eventful show, right? I wish they had the presentation. All right, well, let's take a look at the next one. Rigetti Investor Relations. Here we go. Rigetti Investor Relations, their investor presentation. Is this the one? Okay, I'm sharing the right tab. No, this is the investor presentation, which is exactly what it said. So I don't know why I clicked on it. Earnings press release. Let's see how much money they earned this year. Total revenues for 3 months ended was $1.9 million with an operating loss of $23 million. I mean, if you guys have a bull case for this, then that is you. This is a terrible earnings. I don't know how this company is not like $0, but there is obviously a theme in quantum computing that I am just not seeing. But I could be wrong. But to be completely honest, there's probably people in this chat that earn more money than this last quarter than they did. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are some people in this chat that did, but yeah. Good to have you. Where's Ahmed? Ahmed is at the Take Flight Robinhood event. So he is just hanging out over there with Vlad and all those cool people over there. Certainly, you guys are obviously the cool crowd that he should be hanging out with, but he's got to do his work. He is the superhero of market close, and somebody lit up the Ahmet signal there. So yeah, what's going on, Ed Money? I actually, it's funny because I just saw your avatar when I was tuned into to Equity Edge. With Stock Talk and Ahmed earlier, and like I could just see her. Like for some reason, like your avatar is like the first avatar I see, but you got the sharp haircut over there. It should be. To meet growing demand for a vertically integrated offering, Iran is expanding 150,000 GPUs with the addition of 50,000 Nvidia B300 GPUs. Wow, really? Oh, interesting. Let's go ahead and check this out. But first, I want to see if there is any clips from some of the earnings that happened today on the CNBC. Oh, this is an interesting one. Jensen Wong says 30 billion might be the last. That's an interesting one. All right, so let's go ahead and take care of the rest of earnings before we jump into some other stuff over here. Let me share my screen again. I'm going to move on past Rigetti. To be completely honest, the Rigetti, I don't know what makes these stocks move, but certainly it's down 3%. I feel like it should be down more. But again, I don't know this industry. Some of you guys know quantum computing better than I do, and some of you guys got into some of these companies in single digits. Kudos to you. I don't know. I might have to look into it, but much later on, not right now. Right now, Rigetti is they're a $6 billion company that earned $2 million last quarter. Like, I don't know. Maybe they're going to accelerate revenue by like 5 million% in the next couple of years, and that will justify the valuation. And there's something I'm not seeing. Anyways, I don't want to SHIT on Rigetti or quantum computing because clearly I'm not an investor in it. So there's a lot of things I don't know. So maybe I'm missing something. Veeva Systems. I want to look up the Veeva Systems investor relations. They're currently up about 8.5% after hours still. So they're really holding on to their gains here, which is very good to see, especially with software companies. Like the crazy software moves we've seen lately has just been like whipsawing back and forth. But if you guys check out the stream that I had earlier, software made a comeback. I do think, generally speaking, that software probably bottoms for the time being last week. And since then, we've been seeing a massive outperformance of software toward the Qs, also towards semiconductors, not on a day-to-day basis, but with an upward trend there, which means that software is definitely finding some inflows, even when the Qs were down and stocks were down. So it is very interesting to see that. So Veeva Systems total revenues for fourth quarter was $836 million, up from $720 million, 6% growth year over year. Subscription revenue, software company, subscription revenue, $770 million, grew 16% year over year. Veeva Systems is a $30 billion company, about $4 billion in ARR. So that would make it trading at a pretty hefty premium on an EV to sales forward basis. Full year results grew 17% year over year. Okay, do they have guidance over here? Maybe they don't issue guidance. Okay, guidance for next quarter is 850 to about 855 to 858 million dollars. Non-GAAP operating income is 378 to 381 million dollars. So they actually have a pretty high adjusted operating income margin here, probably somewhere around 40%, which is pretty good for a software company. Veeva is one of the few software companies that are out there that are actually profitable. If you guys look under the hood, a lot of these software companies are not profitable, and they usually are the ones that are hit the most in the software pullback that we've seen. And the ones who've made the dramatic recovery are ones that are actually profitable. You know, we have Zeta, who's basically up like 30% from its recent lows. We have ServiceNow, which is up like 20% from recent lows, profitable company as well. We have CRM. I don't think CRM is actually up that much, but I know Michael Burry did buy Adobe. And if that is your bull case to buy Adobe because Michael Burry bought it, you might need to rethink your bull case for this one. There obviously is a bull case out there as far as mean reversion to its valuation. But at the same time, you know, don't base it off Michael Burry because he did buy a healthcare company recently and that thing makes lower lows. So be very careful out there. Guidance for the full year of ending in January 31, 2027 is $3.585 billion. $3.6 billion. Okay, not bad. So let's go ahead and calculate something here. How much do they have on their balance sheet? That's a reconciliation. Do they give the, okay, cool. So cash equivalents, they have 1.5 plus short-term investments. I like to include as well because they can sell those. So we have about $7.5 billion. EV. Actually, hold on. Let me do the seeking alpha bit right here. VEEV. All right. Valuation for Veeva Systems. Yeah, they got like $6.65 billion in cash, which brings their enterprise value down to about 24 times. And if I do some top of the napkin math, about $4 billion projected for next year. So its forward sales is $4 billion. Its enterprise value is 24. That means trading about 6 times EV to sales forward, which is not too demanding when you think about the valuations of software companies. So yeah, 7.5 times, I guess, because they don't take into account their forward over here. The sector median is 3. I would argue against this metric because Seeking Alpha doesn't do a good job at doing things one-to-one in terms of software valuations. But yeah, pretty decent quarter, actually. Doesn't show any signs of slowing down here. 16% growth year over year for a software company in the midst of massive fear that software is going to be eaten by AI. I said it earlier in the stream, doesn't look like that's happening anytime soon. So pretty bullish for Veeva Systems if this is a company that you are into. Okta, this is actually something that I was looking forward to seeing today as far as their earnings. So let's go to Okta IR. Let's go to their investor relations page. And do they have they have an investor presentation. So something a little bit nicer to look at. And of course, another one of those companies where they decide, hey, we do not live in the current year. We are in the next year. So that would put them in Q1 fiscal year 2027 because they are that much better than us. All right, so they came in at about 12% growth year over year on a CAGR basis, actually. So that's CAGR. All these like nice little charts and everything because they got to sell their product. Pretty common. All right, $80 billion TAM. Let's like make up a crazy number and just throw it out there so you guys can buy our stock. All right, so Q4, $761 million, grew 11% year over year. Subscription revenue also 11% year over year. And subscription revenue is the recurring revenue that software companies do get. Dollar-based net retention, 106%, went down 1 point. Is that percent or point? I think that's percent. So I don't know. Is that good or bad? They're up 2% after hours. Maybe it's not good. I don't know. RPO, remaining performance obligations. So this is basically the number of unbilled contracts that they have on an annual basis moving forward that will eventually turn to billings or that will eventually turn into revenue. Looks like an acceleration. So that's pretty good to see. We'll take a look at some of the charts for some of these earnings afterwards to see like where it might be going after. But not bad, not bad. So, okay, this is confusing. Is this points or percentage? Because if they contracted by 8.4% from last quarter, that's bad. Nah, I think this is this has to be this has to be like I don't even know what these guys are doing. I got to check that one out in a little bit. But they have a rule of 41, which is good to see. So their free cash flow margin is 33%, total TTM growth 18%. Yeah, that's actually, I don't know. This is the reason why I can't really be bullish Okta, because the leader in this industry when it comes to cybersecurity for identity was obviously CyberArk, and they are already being bought by Palo Alto. So that doesn't mean like, let's find the secondary leader and buy that one for the mean reversion play. It doesn't work that way, because if you think of CrowdStrike and Sentinel-1 trades very cheap for a reason, and CrowdStrike trades expensive for a reason. And when you have like that outlandish leadership in industry, it's tough to make the argument that Sentinel-1's going to come back. So a lot of people have asked me about, oh, I'm not sharing the right tab. My bad. A lot of people ask me about Sentinel-1, and it's just, I can't really be bullish on Sentinel-1. I had in the past and I sold it for a profit, but I have not gotten back in since then. I exited like around $24. So I don't know, man. I hope Sentinel-1 does well for people that are in it. I can't really see it. And the same thing for Okta. I mean, it might come back. We'll see. It might come back. Are you interested in Robinhood's? Not really. I'm not really interested in a venture fund. I don't know how liquid it is. Maybe you can like buy and sell it. I think it's like an ETF or something. Actually, now I think about it. But I'm not interested in doing like, I already make money in stocks. I don't need to buy into a private fund. I mean, if I had a lot of money to play with, I would, but like all my stuff is already invested. So I don't really want to sell anything when it comes to that. Yeah. Veeva Systems, pretty big rally, up almost 10%. So that is really good to see. What's going on, Amp? How are you, sir? Jensen said they're going public. Talk about Sabre. What is this? Oh, wow. 10% move after hours. Okay. We'll take a look at some charts in a little bit. Really do appreciate it. If you guys haven't already checked it out, I did interview the CEO of Zeta, David A. Steinberg. Great interview. Hope to do it again in the future, but also hope to plan to have more people I'm going to be interviewing in the future as well. So stay tuned for that one. And if you are watching this from Twitter, go ahead to the YouTube channel. Actually, no, go ahead to the YouTube channel and check it out. youtube.com/@thesolve. Actually, no, that's not right. That's not right, boy. That's not right. It's Sam_Badawi. Yeah, that's my YouTube channel right there, at Sam_Badawi. Well, yeah. Also, if you're on the Twitter, go ahead and check me out on x.com that's also not right. Van Sam, you are messing up, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all in good fun. All right. So that would be my Twitter in case you want to check that out as well. All right. So Let's take a look at some charts over here, because it does appear that there really is not there's not a whole lot going on in terms of these after hours action. Nothing too exciting. Hold on a second here. Actually, let's see if we have some numbers being discussed here. Okay. You know what? Trump did have an update as far as where we are in terms of the war in Iran. Play this clip for you guys, and then we'll take a look at some charts afterwards. Let me share this one. Here we go.
The president's been meeting with tech executives over the past hour, and in the top of that briefing with executives, he gave a sort of rundown of where he sees the war in Iran right now. He rated it a 15 on a 10 scale. He said the United States is in a very strong position, but he lamented and returned to this lament that he's given a couple times now in recent days, that the U.S. and Israel have killed so many of Iran's leaders that it's not exactly clear who the United States is going to be dealing with in the aftermath of all this. Here's what he said.
We're in a very strong position now, and their leadership is just rapidly going. Everybody that seems to want to be a leader, they end up dead.
Now, that comes as we're seeing reports around the world that we might be seeing a new Iranian leader elected at some point. It could be the son of the late Ayatollah, who was killed in the strikes over the weekend. Not clear what the White House's position on that is, if that is somebody that the White House says they can work with. Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, was asked about that development this afternoon, declining really to give the White House's view there, suggesting that the White House is going to continue to hold out and wait to see what the political landscape is in Iran once these major combat operations wrap up. For now, though.
All right, so that is enough for that one. Let's take a look at some charts here, see if we have any movement after hours and see where things might be headed in the markets. I usually do this on my stream, but I'll do it again since there might be some newcomers here. Let me just share my chart screen over here. All right, so we have here the SPY, and I mean, this is still looking pretty bullish to me, even from a long-term perspective, if we zoom out. But if I look on the daily, on a weekly chart, we still need some work to do over here. But we could see here that instead of all of these EMAs trending up, we just basically have sideways action. And the same for the simple moving averages. So EMA versus SMA. SMA is the bold face solid lines. EMA I have on my chart is the dash lines. And we did get a little bit of a bounce from the other day. Things got pretty bearish down here. I do recall last night, apologies for the voice. I'm trying to get over something right now. But I do remember specifically last night, people got very bearish on the South Korea ETF. This thing was all the way down to 120 bucks last night. In fact, if I pull this chart up over here, and let me take out volume. Yeah, this thing was like trading all the way down here to 121 bucks, and we basically recovered everything since then plus more. So the low is down here and it went all the way up here. It recovered 10%. So if anyone caught the bottom of that one, congratulations. I was thinking about throwing a trade out there in that, but you know what? This isn't really the environment where I want to be trading in too active. So I withheld from that. But I mean, this does not look like it's going to fall off a cliff, have any continuation, at least from this candle. It didn't look like it. And that, of course, did have a bounce today. Did not make it back above the 20-day moving average, unfortunately. So, you know, we'll see what happens with that one. But when it comes to SPY, of course, looking a lot better than it did the other day. And it did not get back over the 20-day moving average. And one thing to also note on here is that the 20-day moving average is now below the 50-day moving average. So we might have a little bit of a short-term trend here, but that doesn't mean it can just not chop sideways. That continues to happen. Looking on the weekly chart, we are back above the 20-week. So things are looking a lot better. And we're still above, or we managed to close today above the 21-week, which is historic, which is statistically a place you want to be in a continual bull market. So we're not that far away from all-time highs, guys. Like, it's so hard to be bearish in the market because we always make this crazy recovery all the time. Like there's never any follow through, and we are now we're like 1.5% away from all-time highs. So it's like so hard to be bearish the market. You know, of course, if you look at the Qs, it's a much different story because the Qs are much further away from their all-time highs. They're down about 3-4% from their all-time. No, actually more than that. The all-time high was all the way back here in October. We haven't even touched it since then. The Qs are 4% from their all-time highs. Year to date, what are they, like flat year to date? So if I look over here year to date where they open, they're down about 1.5% year to date. Oh, that'll be the other way around. Yeah, it's like 1.5%. So, you know, people must be really getting chopped up in this thing if you're trying to like figure out the short-term direction of the market. And sometimes it's better not to do anything, right? Like if you're thinking like long-term, you want to buy the dip, you know, then fine. Long-term, go ahead. But like trading this is just very difficult to do. So very much it's like trying to avoid it for now, as difficult as that sounds. Yeah, crypto, the dip is definitely getting bought. We did have that news of Kevin Warsh being officially nominated as a Fed chair. And he is pro crypto, right? He's not like a Bitcoin maxi bull or anything, but he is pro crypto. He's very friendly with crypto. He's not afraid of it. He sees it as a store of value. And clearly you've seen some positive momentum since then, right? Just like one day. This is like the biggest candle we've had on a green day since early February. But before that, like we have not had such a green day like today since early January. And even then, like it's just been falling off a cliff. So we could come back over here in crypto, but man, this chart just needs a lot of work. Like on a weekly basis, like this is just a bad looking chart. So I'm staying away from trading that one for now. What are the earnings that happened today? Yeah, Broadcom is still flat, and it looks like we're gonna come and open up here above the 200-day moving average, which is good to see with Broadcom. But again, still needs a lot of work. You've had that crossover of the 20 and the 50 back here. And these are indicators, guys. These are indicators indicative of where price action might be going, but it's down like 12% from there. So if you were in Broadcom and you were buying the dip hard here, you're still lower, right? But again, long term, but its valuation is pretty extended. It is a $1.5 trillion company, and it is growing at a decent pace, but it's certainly pricing in a lot of the future today. So you got to be a little bit careful when it comes to that one. U.S. Senate blocks effort to end Iran strikes. I didn't even know there was an effort to end Iran strikes. So they just kept on going. Interesting with that one. Let's see if there's actually a little bit more coverage here on the Iran stuff. I mean, you know what? Maybe I'll play more Iran stuff later. I wanted to, I guess the clip is not here in CNBC, but I mean, there certainly has been some news. I talked about it earlier. I talked about Kraken Robotics for a minute, and I did play a clip. You can always just check it out on the stream that I did earlier, but I played a clip regarding underwater warfare when it comes to basically sinking the first tanker from Iran, basically sinking a ship, which has not been done since World War II from the U.S. side. So it is pretty interesting that you're starting to see more talks about warfare from a remote basis, right? Like obviously submarines are not remote, but they are further away, and it's something that we're starting to dominate more. And when you talk about underwater marine warfare, right? So it doesn't seem like it's a capability that the army in Iran has. What is the Revolutionary Guard? I think that's the name of the army over there. And it seems like something that's we're dominating in. But if this continues to be an effort that we push forward, it could be bullish for Kraken, of course, Anduril and so on. But your only proxy for that play would be Kraken. There are other companies that do have underwater marine warfare. But it would be something interesting to just monitor in the background. Have I considered Alloy? I don't even know what Alloy is. Never heard of it, but that chart is parabolic, so probably not. I am in a rare earth materials trade, and it seems to be doing pretty good, but it's like a very small trade. It's definitely not. It's not Alloy, but you know, I could really care less where it goes. It's a small position in options. But anyways, I mean, not a whole lot is happening after hours here. There have been obviously some positive remarks in terms of the war and possibly a secret compromise with Iran to basically end the war. But it doesn't seem like this war is going to be ending anytime soon. I hope it would be ending anytime soon, but it doesn't. The one that ended soon was when we dropped the bomb in Iran and we just got out, right? Remember when we dropped the bunker bomb over there, leaving all of it from the US and coming back all the way to the US? Like that was a one and done. But we have planted a lot of soldiers out there and a lot of ships and a lot of military personnel out there and fighter jets and so on, that you don't just pull everything out of nowhere until like things are done. So this is likely going to last for a while. The question is, how okay is the market with it? And I think that is probably the reason why you're seeing uncertainty brought into the market and choppiness, because we don't know. We don't know how long this war is going to last, right? But I think more importantly, we don't know how it's going to impact the price of oil in the long term, because there is an inflation, and oil rising is bullish for the US dollar. It's bearish for the bonds. It's bearish for gold. It's bearish for silver and so on, right? And that's the reason why you've seen these move down, but it's also bearish for risk assets. So you had a little bit of a return with the stock market, but arguably, like, it's hard to be bearish right now, but it's also hard to be like uber bullish, right? And that's the reason why we've basically been in chop for a while. And until we regain that upper momentum that we've had for half a year last year after a massive downfall, it'll just take time for things to play out. There actually is a clip that I want to play from CNBC regarding OpenAI and basically Nvidia, Jensen Huang saying that the $30 billion investment might be the last that they did recently. So let me go ahead this for you guys real quick with Mr. Jensen Huang.
CEO Jensen Huang making comments just a short time ago about that company's recent investment in OpenAI. Christina Partsenevelos joining us now with these headlines. What do we know?
Well, Jensen Huang making news.
Did he actually say anything here? No, he didn't say anything. It's just someone talking about it. Great. All right, well, I'll play it anyway.
Like you said, specifically at the Morgan Stanley Tech Conference, the Nvidia CEO saying that $30 billion is likely as far as his company goes when it comes to investing in OpenAI. He said, quote, "The opportunity to invest $100 billion in OpenAI is probably not in the cards." And the reason for his statement is that OpenAI is heading towards an IPO, potentially by year end, which would close the window on private investment at that scale. Nvidia's CEO also called this, quote, "the last time Nvidia will have the chance to invest in a company like it." Worth noting, though, this comes after, maybe we can say, a rocky stretch. Reports earlier this year suggest the original $100 billion deal had stalled. Remember, we talked about it on air back in November. Today's comments suggest the two sides have maybe settled on a cleaner, simpler structure. And it's not just OpenAI. Jensen Huang also said Nvidia's $10 billion bet on Anthropic will, quote, "probably be its last investment there, too, also ahead of an expected IPO." The era of Nvidia writing these massive checks to the AI labs is its supplies may be coming to an end, and the public markets are about to take over. Scott.
All right, Christina, thanks. We'll see you in a little bit. That's Christina Partsenevelos.
Yeah, so we've had that banter back and forth. It was supposed to be $100 billion round, which Jensen Huang was talked about last October, but it went down to $30 billion. And he kind of walked back on what he was saying. Okay. Like he said that. He said $100 billion and they'd be very interested. And now all of a sudden they're not really interested. So Ahmed actually had a post over here that I want to share with you guys regarding what Jensen Huang said about the price of Nvidia. You know, I really care about our shareholders. We had just had the earnings of, we had just had the earnings of earnings in the history of earnings. I think somebody actually told me this might be the single best print in history of humanity. Anyways, we had a very good quarter. Listen, you can't hold the stock back. You can't hold it back. The reason for that is single compute equals revenues for the company. So that's something he said in the last earnings, which really sounded in my head for quite some time. Compute equals revenue. Compute translates to intelligence, which translates to digital workforce, which translates to your revenues. Compute equals GDP. Every country needs it. I know that for certain. I also know that we are at the beginning of this journey. So he's not, I guess the thing is here is that Nvidia just gets cheaper every time they have their earnings, especially when the stock pulls back. Like if the stock went to 250, then it wouldn't be as cheap, right? But Nvidia closed at 195 bucks, and today it's $182. And on top of that, the earnings are really good. So the stock ended up being cheaper after earnings. And can you just imagine how people are like frustrated with just the price of it? And as Ahmed pointed out, like you could see that Jensen Huang, the CEO of the company, is already frustrated as well, because shareholders lose interest if they don't see the prices going up. That's just generally what happens. And then the money will rotate outside of Nvidia, which we have been seeing a broadening out of the stock market for quite some time, for at least like 3 or 4 months, ever since October. We've had a broadening out of the stock market. If I look here on the daily chart for RSP, which is the equal weight S&P 500, so you have all 500 companies weighted the same, versus Nvidia being like 10% of the S&P 500, it's been going up since October and hasn't stopped. All right, let me take out these moving averages. It's just been going up, okay, since October. Boom. If I look at S&P 500, it's been sideways since October, right? So it doesn't take a whole lot of market cap to leave the mega caps to make other stocks go up. And really, tech hasn't gone anywhere in months, and Bitcoin has only went down, and gold has went up, silver has went up, the dollar has been up, right? Like you're having things kind of impact each other, but the market is still afloat. Like this is the reason why it's very difficult to be bearish the market right now, because you have the RSP near all-time highs. Now, if the RSP fell over, different story, right? You'd have a broad sell-off of the market, and that's usually what brings market downs. That's what we had last April, but you're not having that. You're seeing a major broadening out of the stock market. And the thing is that everyone looks at tech. Tech is a big part of the stock market, okay? When that goes down, people lose confidence in the stock market, because that's been propping the market up for a long period of time. But now that tech is like going nowhere, people become uninterested in the stock market, and these fund managers need to put their capital to work. So if they're not in the tech stocks, they need to put in something else, namely the small and mid caps that are out there, the S&P X93. Sorry, the S&P 493. And that's what we've been seeing with the RSP. The RSP makes up basically the S&P 493 make up 50% of the S&P 500. And the S&P 500 has been flat, but the RSP has been going up. So what does that mean? Unless we get a rotation back into the Mag 7, you're probably not going to see the Qs back at all-time highs, okay? But if you've been looking elsewhere, like myself and a few other people have, including Stock Talk and a few other individuals, I'm going to be interviewing a couple people in the next couple of days. Danielle Shai, who's a contributor on CNBC, shows up there a lot, and also she's a very active trader, manages a lot of money for people. She shares a similar belief that, like, look, the alpha in the market is outside of tech, right? So the market's still bullish, but it's just not in your Mag 7. It's not in like your high growth tech names that we've used to seeing for the last 3-4 years. It's elsewhere, right? So it is still a bull market out there, and the heart of a bull market is broadening out, right? Narrow leadership is not what you want to see in a bull market, because then it's so concentrated that if those narrow leaders pull back, the market pulls back. Fortunately enough, we haven't seen that since October, because the rest of the markets were broadening out, and that's what you want to see for the market to continue going up. So I wouldn't really call it fake green. This is just the bounce of the Mag 7 coming back. I mean, if you look at some of the charts over here, or if you look at my watch list here, like you could see the Mag 7's been up across the board today. Amazon was up 4% today. Meta's up 2%. Nvidia's up 1.5%. Tesla's up 4%. Specifically, XLY, which is consumer discretionary, is up a lot. You know, but how is this performing for like the last, like since the end of last year? Tesla's just been going down. Nvidia has just been sideways, made its all-time high back in October for the previous earnings. Netflix has bounced pretty considerably, but this has been just a massive downtrend. So, it's nice to see the recovery here. Microsoft is still falling off a cliff. Yeah, Microsoft is up like 10% from its low, but like, dude, this is still an ugly looking chart. Meta still has not reclaimed its gains from its last earnings, which were really good, right? Someone said Broadcom is moving. Oh, wow. Yeah, he must have said something on the call. Nice work. He must have definitely said something. I mean, even if he doesn't say anything on the call, it's still. No, I have no options on Zeta. I've sold a lot of options heading toward the end of last year and the beginning of the year, mostly because I just saw continued chop. Not really the environment I'm going to be trading options in. That was something good to do probably in the last half of last year, but not really the environment for me to do in this current environment. Yeah, appreciate it. I mean, it's a good camera. You got to thank Chris Patel for that one. This is donated from him, and it's been good and good. Okay, so let's take a look at this Broadcom move out over here, actually. So I use Perplexity because it gives me live earnings updates. Okay, so if I go over here and I click on earnings and I click on Broadcom earnings call, transcript. Okay, so they must have said something. Oh, I think they gave the guidance. Let me talk about, okay, so he talked about enterprise networking, flat year over year, We forecast that non-AI semiconductor revenue to be approximately $4.1 billion, up 4% year ago. And let me talk about our infrastructure software segment. Q1 software, 6.8 in line with our guidance, 1% year over year. We focused. The VMware grew 32% year over year, and recurring revenue 19%. So he's talking about their guide for next quarter in terms of revenue. So I'm going to need to take a closer look at this one later, but they did not disclose that in their earnings release. So if Hock Tan is talking about this on the earnings call, that's probably the reason why you're seeing the stock up 4% after hours. So that's good news. I like to share this with you guys, but I'll probably do it after. I'll put it in the show notes in case you guys are interested in Perplexity. But that's why I like it, to be honest. All right, so it's best to always believe the pump. Yeah, I mean, we are in a bull market, right? So if we're in a bull market, you don't want to be bearish in a bull market because you're going to get your face ripped off. And we're not exactly in a bearish trend here. And if we do end up being in a bearish trend, if we do end up staying down, whatever, because we've always been getting bought up, then maybe that's the time to start exercising some short-term trades, right? But like, it's just, you could have been sitting in puts since the beginning of the year and you'd be losing money because the VIX is coming down. So implied volatility comes down, but also we basically got nowhere. So unless like you're trading puts like very short term, because they're really, we have barely gotten any days of follow through. Like each day that happens, it like goes the other direction, right? So how do you make money in that environment trading short term? It's very difficult to do unless like you're looking at specific companies. So we will see. Let's take a look at some other stocks that how they performed today. So we have AHR. Shout out to Crossroads. He's been doing phenomenal with this play. Broadcom is up 5% after hours. Now that is a move. That is a move. That's good to see. The Qs are about 13 basis points after hours. So my guess is that Marvell Technology is up as well, and it is. It's up about 1.3%. Also an ASIC company. Marvell Technology reports earnings tomorrow, and I'm quite bullish coming into those earnings. Astera Labs focuses more on the network segment, is up about 3% after hours. Makes a lot of sense. While Broadcom is really pushing up there. That is good to see. That is definitely good to see. A lot of the, why is this 2% down? Oh, I think someone shared that earlier. Here we go. Let me share the screen. So we have here that Iran. Oh, someone posted this earlier, actually. Yeah, this is the same thing that we saw. But yeah, they're going to be expanding their cloud capacity to 150,000 GPUs. People probably see that and they're just like, more CapEx. Finance approximately $3.5 billion. There you go. More CapEx. I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect, guys? You're building 3.6 terawatts of gigawatts of capacity in a very short period of time. Yeah, that's expensive. So, you know, you just got to keep that in mind when you invest in some stocks like this. Oh, wait, Webull reported earnings. I forgot. They're down 3%. Sorry, Webull. Appreciate it, man. Zeta CEO, let me know if you. Yeah, that would be dope to get the Amcor CEO. And from what I've read was that Amcor is going to be getting rid of their CEO and bringing in someone else. They announced that on the previous earnings. So that'll be very interesting to do that. I would like to do that, and Stock Talk will probably be interested in doing that one as well. Let me take a look here. I want to share the interview with you guys in case you'd like to check it out. Here is the link to the interview in case you guys want to check out that Zeta CEO interview. Plan to do a lot more. You guys look at I don't know what that is. All right, so switching back to the charts over here. Oh, wow, you can share multiple screens. That is dope. Let me check this out. Let's see here. Wow, that is freaking awesome. That is very cool. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this again. Webull is down 3% after hours. I already mentioned Iron's down about 2% after hours, mostly because they're going to raise more funds. So, you know, I don't know how you're invested in these neo clouds and Bitcoin miner, ex-Bitcoin miner companies, like without expecting CapEx. Like they're going to raise more capital, period. That's going to be the case for a long time. They're not going to stop raising capital until they're able to be profitable. And that won't be for at least 2 years. Next decade is up 5%. Congratulations. VG is pulling back mostly because the scare of war is becoming more certain. So you're going to have a liquidity pullback, but VG is a good long-term bet per, whoa, Oscar is up 10%. Where did that come from? Did Oscar have news today, or is this just like a growth buyback? Shout out to Ron. I mean, that guy is very long, Oscar. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Wow. There's your Oscar news right there. I could actually bring this one up. Yeah. So CEO says Oscar is on track to return profitability this year with $750 million. That's the same. Okay, yeah, that's what the CEO said. I think that's crazy. 10% move is no joke with Oscar. 40 years in this industry, I've never seen anything like AI's impact. That's Mark Bertoloni. Oh, wow. Congratulations to anyone that's an Oscar. That's a massive move. Wow. Crazy move in Oscar. I don't have Oscar. I don't need to. I think I have other things I'm probably looking at. I don't need to get into this one. I'm trying to stay a little bit away from the retail stocks, mostly because some of them could have like really good days, but I find like more alpha focusing on other stuff than like the popular stocks that are out there. Something I've been switching to lately, but who knows? Definitely want to like lever up, but you know, I'm not like too much of in a rush for that anyway. ASTS. Oh, dang. It's back above $100. Wow. Congratulations to ASTS shareholders over there. Congratulations. Lemonade up 5%. Good for them. Life Med up 7%. Yeah. All right. I don't know. You have a bit of the mark coming back. Yeah. Quantum computing is back. I don't know how it's back, but it's back. Like, I don't understand it. But I mean, if you got an IONQ in the $8 range, kudos to you, because you saw the gem before anyone else ever saw it. That's amazing. Damn, IONQ was all the way down here, $7 September. That was. I feel like that was not long ago. And I remember when this rallied like $20 and faded, everyone thought this was going to zero. And like, look at this crazy move, man. IONQ was $84 at some point. Is that just wild to think about? Wow. Oh, DigitalOcean is down 5%. That's interesting to see. But yeah, look at the software across the board. Besides GitLab, I mean, a lot of software has been doing pretty decent in the last few days. Datadog was below $100. Now it's back almost $120. Service Titan was below 60, below IPO level. Now it's back above $77. ServiceNow, the most popular one out of all of them. I'm bullish this company, but I want to wait for software to come back. This is still a nasty looking chart, so I don't want to get too excited there. Klaviyo initiated a buyback, which is really good, and they've bounced pretty considerably. But yeah, CrowdStrike this is actually really funny because this actually closed down on the day. And if software is really back, this dip is going to get bought up pretty quickly. Palo Alto's, CrowdStrike, and so on, like the leaders of cybersecurity. Rubrik had a pretty decent bounce today, but they report next week. So I think you're going to see the real move for Rubrik next week. And I'm bullish Rubrik. You guys know that. Robinhood up 8%. Mercado Libre had a pretty nice bounce today. C Limited reported earnings the other day as well, and they were down ridiculously. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but back here, I remember when C Limited reported earnings and like they dropped like 50% in a single day. So it's a really good company. I honestly would not think C Limited was going to be below $100 again, because it is a very good company, but they're very dependent on the gaming, and they're also very dependent on e-commerce, but specifically in Southeast Asia. So I know they had a bit of margin contraction and they missed guidance and everything, but does that warrant coming back to, oh, wow, that's a $52 billion valuation? That is certainly not a cheap company. Let's take a look at the fiscal AI. All right, so C Limited, I mean, their earnings were like not that good from what I gathered. Last quarter, they came in at 38.4%. So they've basically been flat in growth for the last, I mean, still 38% is no joke when you think about growth. But certainly it is flat in growth. Gross profit margins came down a little bit, 2%. The market does not like to see margin contraction. Operating margins came down 1%. Basic EPS contracted a little bit, but there's obviously a lot of accounting stuff you could do there. EBITDA slowed down a little bit. This is not your 38%, but still growing, which is really good. I mean, this is like the reason why it was going up a lot, because of like these 400% plus growth in EBITDA margins. All right. Segments. This is probably why it got hit the most, right? So their largest sector is Shopee, which is their e-commerce. And then their second largest is their banking, right? So I believe Garena is the gaming sector, which is probably not something they're focusing on. Still going at 35%, so it's still a big deal. But arguably, like, these are still really good growth rates, but they went from 70% when it was trading at its all-time high all the way down to 54%. So they are decelerating, but I think a lot of this has to do with the law of large numbers. From a valuation perspective, okay, so let's see here. I would probably do this a price to earnings forward. So right now they're trading at 2 times price. No, sorry, that's price to sales, 20 times price to earnings on a forward basis. So not bad, not bad at all. They were obviously much more expensive back then, but since they're down like so much, you know, it'll be very hard to buy a stock when it's all the way up here, or even when it's like up here, like price to forward earnings 40, but 20 now. This is something I was interested in the past, but again, you know, I think there's a lot more alpha looking at other companies that are much cheaper than this one, that are part of a secular trend. And in my opinion, I don't think emerging markets is really that much in favor right now. So I'm going to listen to the market on this one. By the way, if you guys want to check out Fiscal AI, I do have a code for it. You get about 15% off and a 2-week trial, no credit card required. Obviously, I do get a cut from that if you do it, and you certainly don't have to do it if you don't want to. But in case you are interested, I use this platform all the time. Hold on a second. That's the code in there if you guys want to check that one out. I use this platform all the time. So the code is Sam Badawi. But I use it on the stream a lot. I use it even when I'm researching stocks a lot. So go ahead and check that one out. And yeah, I mean, it's free. So like, why not? Right. So besides that, Mercado Libre also did report earnings, and they've been on a crazy downtrend. Let's go back to the chart situation here. Oops. I did unshare the chart, didn't I? Here we go. All right. So if we look at the chart over here on the trend lines, I mean, this is a bad chart, right? Like, so this is one of the reasons why I'm staying away from it, because this is just on the do not trade list. Once it came back below the EMAs here, it's just been rejecting it over and over and over again, right? We are pretty extended, but like, you're going to risk this just to make this. Like, it doesn't seem like a great trade, risk reward, in my opinion. And on the weekly basis, it's like closing below. It needs to get back above $88, get above the 200-week moving average. Otherwise, this is probably has more blood in the horizon. And Nubank too, another emerging markets. I mean, you have the US dollar basically rising here, right? So what does a US dollar do to emerging markets if it continues to ride up? So let me hide the screen. So when the US dollar depreciates, currencies tend to rise that are paired against US dollar, right? Tend to rise, not all the time, but they tend to rise. And the US dollar index is made up of, I believe, 4 different currency pairs, right? So you have the Japanese yen, you have the Chinese yuan, you have the British pound, and you also have the euro, right? And I believe there's a 5th one, actually. I think it's the Swiss franc. And if those get stronger against the US dollar, it brings the dollar index down. But if they get weaker against the US dollar, then it brings the dollar index up. And generally speaking, when oil goes up, the US dollar tends to be stronger because of the fact that oil prices go up so much and they affect bonds, right? And if bonds go down, that means they have to sell their bonds to buy US dollars, and that's what props up the US dollar. And the reason why this isn't the best scenario for emerging market companies, because when emerging markets report their earnings, they're headquartered in different countries. So they need to convert their currencies for their balance sheets, their cash flow statements, and their income statements to be in US dollar. And when they do that, when the US dollar is stronger, that means that the amount of money they made, the absolute dollar figure or the absolute amount they make in their own currency goes down because of that conversion rate. So that's the reason why you see some companies reporting FX neutral, which means that it's like a flat FX rate, consistent across the board. So that way there's like, it normalizes it. But in this scenario, it makes these emerging markets earnings look worse than they actually are. And the way these algos work is that it just looks at the number, just like, this is how I'm going to trade based off this, right? So Mercado Libre is down, Nubank's down, C Limited is down, Grab is down. Why? Because the US dollar is getting stronger. So you need to have a facilitating market that will help benefit these companies on a fundamental standpoint and a financial standpoint more than just the chart on its own. But right now, the charts don't agree that it's a good stock to own. And I'm going to listen to the markets around that one. So yeah, I mean, that was like a round trip. It was a round trip move. But yeah, guys, I think that does it about it today. I apologize for not being able to do the market close. Had some priorities to do over here, but really do appreciate you guys turning in. And if you like, after this, you can watch the Zeta interview. Of course, you have the Hood event that's starting in a couple of hours, so you can go ahead and check that one out too. But planning on doing a lot more of the podcast interviews with people in the coming days. Have a couple people lined up, and hopefully get some other CEOs and stuff on here for your enjoyment. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining up.